Today we welcome Marie Hourihan to the non-league radio show. Good afternoon, Marie.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, all good. Before we talk about now, I want to go way back and find out what made you get interested in football and your first memories in football.
I think for me, because I've got an older brother who's 4 years older than me. So as a kid, all I wanted to do was whatever he was doing. So he would be in the back garden leathering a football about. So it would be, right, well, she's a small one. She can just go in goal and just belt the football at her. So it's just started from there, really. And then ever since got to like 7 or 8. And then that's when I first, obviously, going into school, playing with the boys. And then I think I got into my first team when I was like 8. And then never looked back from then on.
Who did you support, or who do you still support as a
I was
kid?
a Watford fan, would you believe?
No, that's all right. That's fine. Did you always want to be a goalkeeper, do you think? Or would
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Centre forward, started out and then just slowly but surely started making my way back. Obviously, when I started to realise, maybe all this running around, I'm not too clever at all that. So slowly but surely dropped through the positions in the middle of the pitch and then ended up in goal.
So what do you love most about playing in goal?
I think it's because ultimately you're an individual within a team, because what you do is so unique. And it is so pivotal because, like you say, if you make a mistake, cost the team. But equally, you could be the hero. So I think for me, and also my personality anyway, I'm quite like a communicator. So for that position, it's a fundamental. So it fitted quite well.
So, who was the first team you played for? I've got a list of the teams that you have played for, but I'm guessing it says Watford on Wikipedia. But I'm guessing you probably played for people before that, before you got to Watford.
Yeah, I very, very like grassroots team. I started at a club called Belmont United, which was only about 10 minutes from where I live, and then real sort of stepping, I suppose, into like more sort of organised sort of professional football, youth football, if you like. I played for Fulham Centre of Excellence when I joined when I was like 13. So that would probably be my first real sort of step into, real like official formalised youth football.
I was going to talk about the teams later, but I'll mention them now because I'm on the page. Obviously, there's quite a few teams there. The one that stands... I wasn't going to say it was just quite a few teams, but the one that stands out for us, which is odd to the rest, is Braga. Like, how did that come about? Going to play for Braga?
Yeah, so I always wanted to play abroad, and it was just something, it's like on the bucket list to do. And I got to, after I'd been at Brighton for I think about 18 months, and I was just right, I want to try something different. And I got approached midway through the season by Braga, and they were like, "Look, we're winning the league, and we're going to be going into the Champions League next year, and we want to really have a good go at it." So I went over and had a visit, because at first I was like, Portuguese football, I was a bit like, I don't even know what like standard it is or what it was about. But then when I went over, it literally blew my mind how like professional it was, and also where it was in Portugal. It was just the other side of Porto, so not a bad place to live. It sort of ticked a box, really, something that I wanted to do, not just from a football experience, but a life experience, live abroad, learn another language. Just do something a little bit different.
No, that's great. Like I say, on all the places you've played, it just stuck out. I was thinking it's a strange move, but you've explained it there, so that's fine. Obviously, when you've went through the different levels that you've played at, what's the training schedules like from where you've begun to where you've got to?
I mean, obviously, it's like going from completely amateur to now, obviously, being professional full-time, pretty much training every day, bar probably one day a week that you're given off. It was, at first it was it was a big culture shock, because obviously me growing up as a kid, as much as I dreamed and wished, I never thought I would be able to become a professional footballer, because it wasn't, the women's game wasn't in a position for anyone to do it. But then obviously the introduction of the Women's Super League and just how quickly like it progressed, and the teams then quickly a lot of the bigger clubs bought into it, and it became a real possibility to do. And now, like you say, thankfully it's the normal. But yeah, it was a big culture shock, because obviously you're used to training twice, maybe 3 times a week, 7 till 9, 7 till 10 o'clock at night, and then it's working during the day. And then when you do become a professional, when you're training during the day and you're done by like 1, 2 o'clock, and you're like, all right, what should I do for the rest of the day? It was quite a big culture shock. But again, in terms of the progress of the game, it's where it needed to go. And it's but to see how it is now, and to see girls as young as like 7, 8 going through like academy systems, and they've got that real opportunity now of having a really a good life as well as a good career, not just scrapping and having to work 2, 3 different jobs while playing football. So I think it's where the game needs to be.
Good stuff. And what factors would you say have aided yourself in achieving the goals you wanted as a player?
I mean, like reflecting on it, I have to say I was very fortunate in my career. Like, I got to achieve a lot of things. I got to play in Europe. I got to win leagues. I got to win FA Cups. I got to play international football. So for me, I don't look back with any sort of regrets. I'm just very, like I say, grateful that I was, allowed to be in this opportunity to experience these fantastic things, and these honours to have been able to play, and not just get to finals and things like that, but some of the players that I got to play with, and like now obviously on the back of England winning the Euros, and it's like, well, actually, I played with 3, 4, 5 of them girls, and to see them on that stage now, that it's a proud moment, because you've seen how much sacrifice and hard work these players have put into their careers, and now they're getting the recognition that they deserve. So for me, I'm just privileged that I got to be a part of that transitional phase of, like you say, from an amateur semi-professional into professional. Like, I was just very fortunate that I got to live through that.
Before we get on to London Bees, I was just going to touch on, you mentioned the international. What was that like going away? I've never spoken to any footballer who's played international, so like, I wonder what it is like going away to foreign countries and travelling and things like that. That must be amazing, representing your country as well.
Oh yeah, it was. Again, in terms of a player's career, it's a pinnacle to play for your country. And as you said, you get taken to some places that you wouldn't be like, oh well, we'll go here on holiday this summer type thing. So to experience again different cultures and environments, but ultimately, like you say, I think one of the best ones for me is we got to play Holland just after they won the Women's Euros, the previous, obviously, Euros to this summer's one. And we played it was a sold-out stadium. And it was, like a real football atmosphere. And it was like when we walked out, and we were just like, we were amazed. We were like, this is the next level type thing. And we even came out with a result. We drew 0-0 with them, so it just made it an even more unbelievable experience. But yeah, like, you don't get a bigger honour as a player to be able to do that. And it's great reflecting on it now. Like, again, the camaraderie, and just obviously you're used to playing in team environments, but going away with your country is completely different. So again, is another experience that I'm privileged to have had.
Great stuff. And now on the London Bees, who played in Tier 3 of the football pyramid, the women's football pyramid. How did that role of interim head coach, I don't know if it's full head coach now or whether it's still interim?
Yeah, so it's still interim at the moment, yeah. So basically, last season, because I came back to England after finishing playing in Portugal, and I was playing for Birmingham City, and I was just going through my A licence at the time, so I needed to be doing extra coaching in terms of obviously building my experience, but also going through that qualification. So I got in touch. I knew the manager at the time that was at London Bees. Just got in touch and said, look, could I come in and do, like, on my days off and stuff, the nights that they train, just do bits and pieces. So again, I was fortunate that I was allowed to do that. So last year I got to sort of, get experience of the other side of the game, if you like. And then obviously I retired in May, and originally had planned to just do the assistant role this year, again, sort of learning my learning the ropes type thing, and getting a sort of idea of exactly what direction I wanted to go in coaching wise, whether it be, like you say, a goalkeeping coach, assistant coach, manager, or like a director, sporting director. But yeah, 2 weeks before the start of the season, the manager got offered a job at Coventry, and the club were like, "Would you take over? Would you, come in as head coach?" And in terms of obviously where I'm at, the transition in my career, a head coach opportunities like this that don't come around very often. So for me, it was a fantastic opportunity to really sort of start my coaching career, and a great environment to do it in. And it's something that's up to this point I've really, really enjoyed. So again, I've been privileged that I've been in the position to be able to take it.
And how much do you think your experience, obviously playing internationally and playing for all the clubs, is got you in good stead for being the head coach?
I think in terms of standards, expectations, in terms of how things should be done, because obviously being on the professional side, you have the facilities and the environment to do everything, to the best that you possibly can. So to have that experience, obviously to take it into, tier 3, it is the league below the championship, but it's embedding those practices, those standards of what being a professional looks like and how it should be, because a lot of these players aspire to go on and be professional footballers. So for me, it's been a perfect sort of learning ground. Obviously, being a professional player myself, because I'm preparing my players now I'm treating them as professional footballers, because ultimately that's to be the best teams, or to compete and win leagues and titles. That's what it needs to be now throughout the women's game, regardless of status, in terms of whether they are full time or not. So just just basic things, embedding them from the start, and slowly but surely we're starting to see results with it.
Good stuff. And what you mentioned there about becoming professional, so you level 3, then you've got the championship, and then obviously the women's Super League. So what level does the players start doing full time? Is that the championship up over, or is it just the women's Super League?
So obviously the WSL is completely full time. All the teams are professional. In the championship, so there's 12 teams in the championship, and I think 9 or 10 of the 12 are fully professional, and the other 2 or 3 teams are like hybrid. So they're training three times a week, and obviously then playing the games. Whereas in tier 3, all the teams in our league will train 3 times a week, so they're not of that. They're sort of borderline of that hybrid status, so they're not actually all full time yet. But yet there are teams in our league, so like you've got like Ipswich, Watford, Portsmouth, and Oxford, who within, I would say, the next sort of 12 months, they'll be looking to transition into that more hybrid, full time sort of training routine. And as many teams that are in a position to be able to do that, the better it is, because even from my experience of being in this league this season, the standard of what is tier 3 now compared to last year is probably 30-40% higher than it was the season before, purely because the contact time that the coaches have with the players has increased, because all the teams are training 3 times a week, whereas last year some were only training twice a week. So and with the way and the standard of the women's games going, you have to do it. If you don't do it, you'll get left behind.
No, it sounds really good, to be honest. How much of your week being the head coach does it take up? Is it a full time are you in every day yourself, even though the players might not be in?
I mean, when I first started, it was pretty much every day. Purely because it's getting in, all the right staff in, first and foremost. But now that I've got the majority of my support staff in, then obviously the amount of sort of extra jobs and things that I need to do isn't as much. So, I would still class it as a full-time job, but rather than being, 50 plus hours, it's now probably a more normalised 30, 37 hours.
That's normal. And going back to yourself now, I was going to. Did you have a sporting hero growing up, or someone you looked up to, a goalkeeper, or in another sport?
I think for me and I always say it was Peter Schmeichel. I think I do remember there's a picture of me when I was like 7 or 8. I had a Peter Schmeichel goalie kit. Was just obsessed. Just because even now, if you ask me now who I think is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League era, it's going to be a tough argument to oust him as my number one choice. So I'd definitely say it was Peter Schmeichel.
And do you play any other sports?
Not now, I don't know, but I used to, like when I was younger, I used to swim quite a lot. I was quite a good swimmer, but again, conflict with football. It was like either or. Either you carry on with football, or you get up at 5 a.m. and you do your swimming. I was like,
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I've asked all the goalkeepers I've on the show this next question. Did you have a superstition or a routine before games? Some guys I spoke to had right glove, right boot, or right boot, right glove, and left boot, left glove, and some didn't have any. So did you have any superstitions or routines?
I didn't have, like, in terms of boots and gloves and stuff, I didn't. But whenever I went out into the pitch right before kickoff, I'd have to like jump and touch the crossbar like 3 times. I don't know. It was just weird. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where it started, but I carried on doing it for 15 plus years. So that was my weird little ritual.
And again, these next questions I'll ask everyone that you don't want to drop anybody in it. But who's the best manager you've played for or worked with?
Oof. I mean, to be fair, I've been fortunate in my career. I've worked with some like top managers. I mean, when I was at City, I worked with Nick Cushing. He's just took over at New York City, the MLS team. In terms of an on-pitch coach, like ridiculous. His detail, his content, like he was just obsessed with football. Like his knowledge was unbelievable. And at the time, he took obviously a City team that started from scratch, like the football, that we played, and it was just, it hadn't been seen or done before. So in terms of an on-field coach, he's right up there. I think obviously Emma Hayes, I think what she's doing in the women's game, is there for all to see. And I was there at the very beginning when she came in at Chelsea. And so I saw obviously what she inherited, and to where she's took it now it's unbelievable. And, she deserves absolute full credit for that. And I think internationally, I worked with Colin Bell. He had a brief stint in the men's game, actually. He was at Huddersfield for a little bit. But again, in terms of like a personality, and again, just obsessional about football and how he organised his team and just created an environment where it was like we don't lose. Again, he was another one right up there. So like I have been, listen, there's still quite a few that I've missed out off that list, but they're probably like the main ones I'd say that stick out the most. But I've been fortunate in my career to come across some very, very good coaches and managers. So again, that's only stood me in good stead going down into the career, hopefully, that I'm going to try and have in the coaching world.
No, that's excellent. And do you have again, I asked all the goalkeepers, is a favourite game or a favourite save or a best moment or a worst moment even in football?
Oh, God, there's plenty of worse moments, trust me. There's definitely plenty of worse moments. But they're character building, aren't they? They make you who you are. But best moments or best saves? Oh, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the most. I've had a few. I'd say that actually my worst moment wasn't actually a howler. It was playing for Chelsea at the time, last game of the season. We've gone up to Man City. We've just not got to lose, and we win the league. And I think it was about the 12th minute, they've got a free kick, just pumped it into the box. I've come and took it, but as I've come to land, one of their players has sort of took my legs away underneath me, so I landed flat on my shoulder. I broke my collarbone.
It's making us cringe just
So
listening.
yeah, so I was then, and it was televised live on TV and everything. So there's me laying on the gas and air, getting wheeled off in the ambulance. And then we went on to lose the game and lost the league. So
that is a pretty bad moment.
Yeah, so I keep getting reminded quite a lot. Oh yeah, you've gone down in WSL history, and I'm like, brilliant, thanks for that.
So we still got to find the best moment. We can't go off on a worst moment.
I'd probably say then that keeping a clean sheet against the European champions. So for Ireland against Holland, that's probably one in terms of not just a moment, a game. It was just, when you just have one of them days where as like a team, a back five. I think at times it was probably a back seven. I'm not going to lie, but it was just, you just felt like literally nothing was going to get past us today. We're getting blocks in, saves. Like it was just because this Dutch team as well was, literally they'd just come on the back of, winning a home Euros, like 20 odd thousand in the crowd. It was a World Cup qualifier as well. So it was, a lot riding on the game as well. And, again, I mentioned the manager, Colin Bell, is the detail that he went into before the game. We just felt so well prepared and ultimately proved right because we got the result.
Great stuff. And what advice would you give to any young girls interested in becoming a goalkeeper?
I just think the main thing that I would say is just go and play, train as much as they possibly can. I think now the accessibility to goalkeeping coaching is so much better, and I think you can see that now in the level of performances that you're seeing from obviously sort of professional goalkeepers. But I just think young kids now is the biggest thing is train as much as you possibly can. And don't be afraid to try it. I think that's the big thing with goalkeeping. A lot of players are a little bit frightened and sort of intimidated almost a little bit to go in goal, but I just encourage them to go and do it, go and try it, because I think that a lot of players would actually really enjoy it. They just don't give it a chance.
And my last one is, any dreams or aspirations for yourself for the future?
I think just for me, it's just to keep evolving, whether that's a coach or a manager, and just to work in different environments. Because for me, that's the biggest thing, to continue to learn. You've got to be working in different places with different people and just constantly picking their brains. So for me, that's it. It's just to keep evolving, keep bettering myself, and wherever that takes me, wherever that takes me.
Great stuff. Well, Marie, it's been great talking to you, finding out some information.
No problem at all.